breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday during the season, the Viking season, by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. AJ Fredrickson is our great producer, does a fantastic job putting the show together. And AJ, how are you doing today after a weekend with no Vikings football, but there was plenty of other football?
Yeah, it's there's a kind of FOMO of when the Vikings don't play on a Sunday, because you get the first game out of the way and you watch it on Thursday. Obviously, we would have hoped for a better result, but then, there's less stress on that Sunday. You can kind of watch from afar as every other team kind of goes about their day. And, it was almost kind of a silver lining that every other team in the NFC North happened to lose. So after a pretty rough start with a lot of turnovers, after 2 weeks and being 0-2, the Vikings are only one game out of first place.
That is correct. And that is a silver lining. The Lions had a exciting overtime game, lost to the Seahawks, who bounced back from their loss to the Rams. And meanwhile, the Packers went down to Atlanta, had a double-digit lead late in the game, but they couldn't pick up a first down on their last three drives after Jordan Love had thrown for 3 touchdowns. And the Packers get beat by the Falcons. So,
oh, darn.
Crazy doings in the NFC North. And as you said, the Vikings, the good news is they're only one game out of first place after the 2 weeks, after those 2 dreadful losses. And now they get ready to host the LA Chargers, a very talented team that will be just as desperate as the Vikings, because they're also 0-2 after a couple tough losses that the Chargers have had early this season to the Miami Dolphins out in LA, and then yesterday down in Tennessee to the Titans. So the Chargers Vikings should be an exciting game. These are 2 playoff teams from last year. Of course, the bad news, the Vikings still stand 0-2 after their 34-28 loss in Philly, and they're one of 8 0-2 teams heading into the Monday night games. And so I think as we look ahead to what the Vikings need to do to get things back on track, it's going to start with getting some guys healthy. They had a couple starters out on the offensive line. Not a good formula when you're facing probably one of the top defensive lines in the league in Philadelphia.
No.
And they're missing Christian Darrisaw, who's a Pro Bowl caliber tackle, and they were missing center Garrett Bradbury out with a back. Hopefully Darrisaw's ankle is better, and maybe Bradbury even makes it back for this game. And they've also brought in some reinforcements today with the signing of Dalton Risner, a guard. Doesn't necessarily help at tackle if Darrisaw's out, and Oli Udoh, who was not playing great, by the way, but he is out for the year with a quad injury. And Quisenberry they had signed. Actually, I thought he played better than Oli in the game, but Dalton Risner is a quality starter, former second-round pick of the Broncos, and has 62 starts in the NFL, started every year of his 4-year career. And I think that they maybe have seen enough of Ed Ingram and his follies at right guard. We'll see about that.
I know a lot of Vikings fans would probably agree with you there.
Yeah, and Ed, we were hoping would make strides this year, but in the start of the year, it just hasn't seemed to come very fast. Mm-hmm. And Risner, as I said, a quality player, so maybe he can help that running game that was just dismal in Philadelphia. 28 yards rushing. If you want to look at why the Vikings lost this game, first of all, the Eagles outrushed the Vikings 259-28, and their time possession was double what the Vikings' time possession was. And that's certainly a formula to get beat and get blown out. So the fact that the Vikings hung in there, I'll credit them with not quitting in this game and playing hard. And Kirk Cousins, I thought, had one of his best games as a Viking. And all they're going to say is, oh, he lost another primetime game. Hey, it wasn't on Kirk. I mean, he played great in this game, made a bunch of throws under duress. He made a great off-schedule step-up throw to Jordan Addison for a deep touchdown pass in the third quarter. And so I think the good news is that the offense and the passing game are humming, and certainly Addison is establishing himself as a quality starter. KJ Osborne has been a little shaky early this year, a couple drops, but caught a touchdown pass. And of course, Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the league and continues to perform at a record-breaking pace this year. So
yeah, that kind of helps.
If they can get the running game going a little bit, and I was doing a little stat check today.
Okay.
The Vikings have this is amazing. They've got only 69 yards rushing in 2 games against Tampa Bay and Philadelphia, which is 9% of their offensive output. Compared to last year, their rushing game was 27%. And yeah, Dalvin Cook is not here, but I don't think it's necessarily the cause of that. I think it's just bad blocking up front. And so we'll see how this unfolds against a Chargers team that has some talent on that defensive team, and Eric Kendricks coming to town. Now, Kendricks missed the game down in Tennessee for the Chargers. Of course, the former Pro Bowl linebacker for the Vikings, spent his whole career here. But he was out with a hamstring. We'll see if he can make it back that quick. I have my doubts about that. And Austin Eckler, their great running back, too, was out against the Titans. So if those two guys are not in there, that certainly helps the Vikings' cause. But meanwhile, AJ, let's go back, and we're going to kind of relive, unfortunately, the Eagles game. That turned out to be a fairly exciting game if you didn't care who won the game. And we're going to go through our highlights and start out with first quarter. And again, the biggest problem the Vikings have had this year, the turnovers. They're -6 in turnover ratio, 7 turnovers in 2 games while only having 1 takeaway. And in this particular game, 4 turnovers. Again, it's amazing they weren't blown out in this game when you have that many turnovers and time possession differential and rushing differential, and they only lose by 6, which shows you if they can hang on to the ball these last 2 games, they could be sitting there 2-0. But ifs and buts, we know about those, and it's the NFL. You gotta perform every week, and you gotta hang on to the ball. And here's the first turnover, and it was on a really excellent punt return by Brandon Powell.
Aaron Sipas to punt from the goal line. Brandon Powell collects at the 46-yard line, swings to the outside into Eagles territory, and a good run back, but then he coughs the ball up inside the 30-yard line, and the Philadelphia Eagles come away with the ball.
And that started the downward spiral. The Vikings actually answered with their first takeaway of the season, still in the first quarter. And early on in the game, Brian Flores had Jalen Hurts a little discombobulated, was doing a bunch of exotic blitzes and throwing 3-man fronts at him with 8 men in coverage and all kinds of different looks and schemes. And in this particular case, it paid off with an interception by Theo Jackson.
Yeah, what they're capable of doing.
Got his man 3rd and 16. Ton of time, and then it's picked off by the Vikings. That's Theo Jackson, and he gets up and runs it back for a few yards.
Now, unfortunately for the Vikings and for Flores, the Eagles kind of changed their strategy and went to a heavy run approach in this game, which contributed obviously to the time of possession differential. And so, but before that happened, the Vikings had a nice drive after the interception and early second quarter, a touchdown pass to TJ Hawkinson.
For JJ, 23 yards, the fake to Madison, the pass is caught, and Hawkinson bangs his way into the end zone for a touchdown.
Now, as I said, the Eagles start running the ball, have a 9-minute drive, 16 plays. They ran 13 times as they made the adjustment, which Flores was slow to adjust back to. And the Eagles go ahead in the game 10-7 on the tush push, Jalen Hurts touchdown, which they ought to outlaw because it's a ridiculous play. But anyway, the Vikings answer with a drive of their own and a really nice drive, get down in the red zone. And here was probably the biggest play of the game. And for the second straight week, the Vikings turned it over in the last minute of the half. Last week, of course, it was Cousins on the interception he threw intended for Osborne. And in this particular case, Justin Jefferson trying to reach over the goal line with over the pylon. And here's what happened.
Cousins hanging in. Cousins deep. And it's hauled in. And the ball comes out, but he is out of bounds as they drop it at the half-yard line.
And that's just so frustrating, Jeff. I mean, you can't fault a guy, I feel like, for trying to score. I mean, it's the objective of football is trying to score, crossing that plane. And, it'd be one thing if it lands in the end zone and the Eagles pick it up. Sure, I understand. You got to give them the ball, but it goes out of play.
Right.
Do you think that's a rule that they maybe look at in the offseason?
I think they need to look at that. I think that if the defense doesn't recover the ball, to me, why would you reward the defense and give them the ball at the 20-yard line? It makes no sense. I think it should be a situation where if you fumble the ball and it goes out of the end zone, then the fumbling team still has the ball at the spot they fumbled if the opposing team does not recover it. I think it's a bad rule, and it obviously hurt the Vikings big time in this particular case.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we head to the second half highlights, and at the break, after that fumble, the Eagles had another long drive and kicked a field goal to go up 13-7 at the half. Vikings still in the ball game. But before we go to the second half highlights, let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. And GMC continues its commitment to professional grade engineering in the GMC Truck Series, like offering the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate on Sierra. Try the GMC Canyon with powerful and innovative features, engineered and built for all your adventures to come, or get behind the wheel of the GMC Sierra Heavy Duty with an available Allison 10-speed transmission. The list goes on, but it's more than just innovative engineering. It's knowing GMC is committed to professional-grade excellence on every level. We are professional-grade GMC. Well-qualified buyers step up to GMC with 0.9% APR on 2023 Sierra light-duty models, plus no monthly payments until 2024. See your Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. Length of contract limited, deferred monthly payments for 121 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania and Maine, must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from date of financing. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 10/2/23. So we head into the second half, and it went really sideways quickly.
That's a nice way to put it.
The first series. We talked about Ole Udoh before, and here's where Ole got beat by Josh Sweat.
Forced fumble on the punt, the 61-yard punt or field goal.
Cousins loses the ball, and it's picked up. And down to the 7-yard line go the Eagles. Fletcher Cox.
Just such a punch in the gut. You turn the ball over, trying to score right at the end of the half. They go down and score in that final 30-ish seconds, and then you come out of the halftime, you come out of the locker room, second play of the half, and boom, you turn it over.
That was not advantageous, definitely in the Vikings' cause. The Eagles score a touchdown, and they're up 20-7 at that point. The Vikings having trouble with their screen game and go 3 and out, and then here comes a 3rd and 4 play, deep ball to the speedy Devontae Smith.
3rd and 4. Here comes pressure. There goes the ball wide open. It is Smith again, all the way for the touchdown.
It looked like Caleb Evans was looking for some safety help on that play, which is kind of interesting because when you've got 3 safeties playing a lot in the game, you wonder where were the safeties in that particular play. And tough coverage on a great receiver like Devontae Smith. And I think one of the things that I'll take issue with what's happening with the defense so far this year, I'm just not a big fan of the 3 safety look. I think there've been a couple times this year already where it's backfired, where the opposing team has gotten an elite player. It was Mike Evans in the opener for the Bucs. It was Devontae Smith on the first series of the game for the Eagles against Josh Metellus against the Bucks and Theo Jackson in the game with the Eagles. You don't want to have a safety covering those kind of receivers on a deep ball one-on-one. So something's got to change with that strategy. I understand he wants to be blitz happy and pressure the quarterback, and that's all good, but have the corners hang in there to cover those guys. So be that as it may, the Vikings at that point are down 27-7, and it looks like it's lights out. But as we said, I'll give them credit for staying in the fight, and Cousins got hot, and on the very next series, I thought this was one of the best plays he's made as a Viking, because you'll see how he steps up and then hits Jordan Addison deep.
Crowd roaring again. 3rd and 10. Pressure on Cousins. Steps up. Throws deep downfield. Caught! And that's the rookie Addison for the touchdown.
27-14 at that point. Vikings are starting to get a little momentum and slow down the Eagles a little bit. One of the things that's helping is Danielle Hunter has a big game. He's probably the shining light on the Vikings defense first 2 weeks, and he's got 4 sacks. He's on a 1-year deal. He's got big incentives for sacks. So Danielle in this particular game has 3 sacks, and this is one of them.
2nd and 20 from the 35-yard line. Hurts a ton of time serving. Now flushed out. Finally taken.
So impressive right there. That entire play, he's essentially getting double teamed the entire time. The pocket holds up for Hurts, who's a very mobile quarterback. Hunter, though, just relentless in his pursuit, eventually does slip around the 2 guys and takes down Hurts for the sack.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that was that 3-man line that gave the Vikings trouble in the first half when the Eagles were running the ball. And in this particular case, it was 3rd and long. And so Hurts is trying to throw the ball, and the Vikings go back in coverage with 8 guys, which is fine when it's 3rd and 20 or something, but maybe not on 1st and 2nd down. Danielle Hunter having a big night. And the Vikings then respond with a drive, a couple of really good catches by Justin Jefferson. As I said, off to a terrific start this year, record-breaking start. He's got 25 catches already on the season. And Kirk Cousins hits a wide-open KJ Osborne.
Right to the 10, so it's a 1st and goal. Play action. Look out from behind. Throws wide open is KJ Osborne for the touchdown.
And now it's 27-21. You're thinking, whoa, what's going on here? But the Eagles respond and have another long drive of their own and go ahead on a DeAndre Swift touchdown. Swift has 175 yards, career high rushing day, and scores a touchdown. And so the Vikings are down now 34-21, have a drive of their own and another touchdown pass to Hockenson.
Ham is in the backfield. Blitz coming, pressure put on, caught into the end zone for the touchdown. T.J. Hockenson, what a drive. Converted a 4th down along the way, goes 75 yards, 10 plays in 3 minutes and 3 seconds.
Definition of efficiency on that drive by the Vikings. I wish it wasn't essentially in a garbage time, we're going to try to salvage dignity situation, but it cuts the game a little close, and it just doesn't, the bounces don't go their way after that.
Exactly. Try the onside kick and can't quite convert that. And again, it showed what kind of day Cousins had. 31 of 44 with, I'd say, 2 or 3 drops beside, and for 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, a 125.6 passer rating. He's actually with an 0-2 start. He's on a career high pace for his passer ratings, is like 114. So if Cousins can keep it going, and the Chargers have had some trouble in their secondary in coverage, if the Vikings offensive line can hold up and give him time, I think the Vikings have a chance in this game to really make hay in that passing game against that Chargers secondary. But again, you're facing Joey Bosa, you're facing Khalil Mack, and they got to block those guys. And if Darrisaw's not in there, I think it's a problem for sure. But as we kind of went ahead, when you think about some of the things that happened in that particular game for the Vikings, again, it's just a situation where they've got to handle the turnovers, get that back on track. And let's hear from Kevin O'Connell.
Although the results these first 2 weeks have not gone our way. I do think that there's some encouraging things about our team right now, from a standpoint of certain aspects of how we're playing, whether it be Kirk's performance last night, the way our pass game continues to kind of try to keep us in some football games despite doing a lot of things that negatively affect us as far as turning the football over with the fumbling issue. Our team's fight to still be an onside kick away from having a chance to win a game at a very, very tough place to go win on a short week. But there is no doubt some major areas of improvement from a standpoint of ball security. You just can't be -6 after 2 games, and the turnover differential goes against everything we do believe with our football philosophy. And quite honestly, we're already in the process of finding new and hopefully more results-based ways of training our players and getting back to the basics and really drilling and techniques and fundamentals of how we handle every rep we take to make sure that ball security becomes a premium.
And let's hear from Jordan Hicks, Vikings linebacker. Had a fairly productive game, 11 tackles, played well, especially early, but like the rest of his defensive mates, he kind of wore down as the game went on. But here's Jordan Hicks.
Got to find a way to put things together. When the offense is playing well, we got to play well. When the offense is playing well, the offense got to play well. Special teams got to mix it in. We got to find a way to, cut back on the turnover margin, right? We've got to find a way to get balls out on defense and put our offense in better position.
Then you have a guy like Swift that gets over 170 yards rushing. I mean, you got to find a way to stop the run.
Yeah, and we were able to do that last week. It's something we got to figure out and get back in the lab and just keep moving forward.
So before we hear from the offensive guys, Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, let's hear from our great sponsor, GMC. GMC continues its commitment to professional-grade engineering in the GMC Truck Series, like offering the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate on Sierra. Try the GMC Canyon with powerful and innovative features, engineered and built for all your adventures to come, or get behind the wheel of the GMC Sierra Heavy Duty with an available Allison 10-speed transmission. The list goes on, but it's more than just innovative engineering. It's knowing GMC is committed to professional-grade excellence on every level. We are professional-grade GMC. Well-qualified buyers step up to GMC with 0.9% APR on 2023 Sierra light-duty models, plus no monthly payments until 2024. See your select Minnesota GMC dealers. Length of contract limited. Deferred monthly payments for 121 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania and Maine. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing, if applicable. Finance charges accrue from date of financing. Sub-customers will not qualify. Not available with lease, and some other offers take new retail delivery by 10/2/23. And let's hear from Justin Jefferson, off to a great start this season, but had that unfortunate play at the end of the first half.
Oh, yeah, definitely right there. And I'm putting it a lot on myself, just fumbling in the end zone like that, when we need points and, we're driving and we having that momentum. I'm putting a lot of blame on myself. Of course, being the captain of the team, I have to know the situation, take care of the ball. And, I was telling my teammates, that was on me and it won't happen again.
And Kirk Cousins breaking down the loss.
Solid opponent. Shot ourselves in the foot with the turnovers. Similar story now the first 2 weeks in that case. I'm sure that's been said a lot to you guys now post game, but it ought to be. And it's difficult to win in this league when you lose the turnover battle by 1, let alone by the margin we've lost it by. So we got to fix those mistakes and not let it continue. And then obviously proud of the way guys fought. Continue to feel like we have guys who can make plays and be explosive and make this offense go. And, Kevin's going to give us a lot of opportunity to do that. So we're going to call a lot of guys' numbers. And, I guess that's really all I have to say.
It's interesting too. This particular game with the Vikings and the Eagles on Prime set a record for streaming, something like 15 million viewers during this game, which showed the kind of interest that obviously the Eagles and the Vikings carried as two playoff teams from last year. And we also want to thank for our highlights, Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit from Prime on the telecast. So as we move ahead to week number 3, and the Vikings are up against it. When you look at teams that have started 0-2, it's an uphill climb to make the playoffs. And it certainly has happened, but you go to 0-3 and the odds dwindle even more. So get back to 1-2 this week, and I think they're right back in the hunt. It doesn't look like anybody's going to run away from in this division in the NFC North this year. And so we'll just see how it all unfolds against the Chargers, who, as I said, are a quality team. We're a playoff team last year. Had that dreadful comeback by Jacksonville when they were up 27-0 in the wild card game, and the Jaguars come back and win the game late. It was just a devastating blow to the Chargers. And their coach, Brandon Staley, was even asked about that after the game in Tennessee. Is there a carryover? He kind of bristled at that question, which I don't blame him. It's a new year, new season. But yeah, the Chargers not off to a good start, but they have 2 losses by 5 points. The Vikings have 2 losses by 9 points. And they've kind of mentioned that. A couple of the people mentioned that this week, but hey, there are no moral victories in the NFL. You got to win that particular week. Also, AJ, looking back to Sunday's action, a lot of surprises around the league in the early going this season, starting with the fact that the Vikings, Chargers, and Bengals are 0-2.
Which is the most concerning out of those teams you just mentioned to be 0-2, do you think?
I think it's probably a little bit of a toss-up between all of them, but I think the Bengals in particular are really kind of puzzling because they're a team that has so much talent, and Joe Burrow is averaging 150 yards per game passing after he was about 280 a game last year. Mm-hmm. He's not getting the ball to Higgins and Jamar Chase. I think the Bengals are concerned. They're playing in a pretty tough division. They've lost to their division rival Baltimore yesterday, and I think that may be the toughest one. The Vikings, I think, are in a division that's not quite as strong. They'll have an opportunity to come back, and I think the same thing for the Chargers. They've got the Chiefs in their division, yeah, but the Raiders and Broncos are not great teams, and I think the Chargers can come back. They've got an elite quarterback in Justin Herbert that we will see in action this week. And obviously a lot of stars in that team, Derwin James in the secondary, Austin Eckler, if he's recovered and able to play. But just you look around the league and it's been kind of crazy for 2 weeks, a lot of crazy stuff. If you had said Baker Mayfield, Sam Howell, and Desmond Ridder, the quarterbacks for the Bucks, Commanders, and Falcons would all be 2-0.
Shocking.
That would be a little bit shocking. And just look at the NFC South, where there'll be 3 if the Saints are able to beat the Panthers, there'll be 3 2-0 teams, and nobody had a winning record in that division last year. So
right?
that's a major turnaround. The Rams' competitiveness has surprised me early, and they beat the Seahawks badly, and they played the 49ers very tough on Sunday, and were tied at halftime, lost by 7. The Jets' situation at quarterback, again, going into the season, a lot of big expectations. But what happens? Rodgers gets hurt. Zach Wilson throws 3 interceptions against Dallas, and they get drilled. And then how about the Giants? They come back from a 20-0 deficit after getting beat 40-0 the week before, and they turn it around and win in Arizona against the Cardinals. So a great comeback for them. It's an interesting league. It's a crazy league. Things can turn around quickly. If the Vikings can find a way to get the win against the Chargers on Sunday, they can get back on track and get back in the hunt in this division. And hey, who's to say when you look at Atlanta goes to Detroit, they're 2-0, Atlanta. New Orleans, if they win over the Panthers, they go to Green Bay. So anything can happen
exactly
in this division. And we saw that yesterday with those 2 tough losses by the Lions and the Packers. So we will be back with you to break down the Chargers game and look ahead to the Carolina Panthers the following week. reunion with Adam Thielen, the Panthers receiver, former Viking, great player, and look forward to talking with you then. This has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN and available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. Look forward to seeing you next week. And for AJ Fredrickson and myself, thanks for being with us, and talk to you soon.